Pamela Anderson takes another opportunity that is presented to her, and that is being a star on Broadway.
Antisocial Butterfly Podcast. We are here to inspire dreams and help you spread your wings to fly. Baby girl, it's okay to be shy. But now it's time to kiss fear goodbye.
Hello. Welcome back to a new episode of Antisocial Butterfly Podcast. I'm your host, LISSY Correa. We have a special guest with us today. Hello, cutie. Say hi to everybody. You haven't shown your beautiful face. Now she is sniffing the microphone. You have your back to the camera, cutie. Let's see how long she stays here. Cutie here is just minding her own business. We are here just living in Cutie's world. I wanted to show off my beautiful baby girl, but she just wanted to get off my lap here and crawl around all over the table. Cutie, baby girl, come here. Let's welcome her back here. Cutie, look how big you are since last couple of videos. Okay, you want to show off how tall you are? Say hello, mama. Beautiful baby girl. Oh, so pretty. Okay, cutie. So, what is your favorite toy out of all of the toys that you have? Which one is your favorite? Oh, my baby, I love you so much. All right, guys. Well, before Cutie wants to go, we wanted to announce a special announcement for this episode. Since we got great feedback from the Royal series, we will be covering another Netflix documentary that is a hot topic right now. And that is the Pamela Anderson series. Cutie, thank you so much for helping me announce that. It will only be for one episode. All right, so let me put down baby girl because she is over it. Okay, cutie. We're gonna get right into it. I guess Netflix is just throwing me all of these love stories for us to cover and react to and give our personal thoughts. And you guys know I am a true romantic. I love love stories. I love hearing about people's love stories. Tell me how you fell in love. I will be all ears. So when I saw the title of this documentary called A Love Story, I was intrigued. I'm like, ooh, she is going to be talking about her time with Tommy Lee. Although she's been married a few times, that relationship with Tommy Lee was probably the one that she was the most happiest and most in love. Before you forget, if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe and hit the alert bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Okay, so let's look up how many times has Pamela Anderson been married? Without even looking up the answer, at least 5. Okay, so I was pretty close. She has been married a total 6 times, and she married her first husband, Tommy Lee, on February 19th, 1995, the year Selena died. Hello, I'm wearing a Selena shirt. I'm all about Selena even more lately. For my beautiful butterflies that come from Instagram, you guys know that I posted a little clip of myself singing, and I was singing the song Como la Flor. So if you were curious to see a little bit of my singing, there it is. Be a little gentle. I was super nervous. We are kissing fear goodbye. You can totally see the love between Pamela Anderson and her boys. And she does go through extreme lengths to protect her boys, even early on. Now, Pamela Anderson has had a successful, crazy career. I'm always curious, how did they come to fame? Where did they come from? How did they grow up? How were they as kids? And there's no better documentary from having it from the actual source, from actual Pamela Anderson herself. And it's in her own words, and she is a collector of her stories. She literally documented everything that happened to her in her whole career by writing everything down through her diaries. And she kept all the diaries and gave it all to her son, who was going to be producing this documentary. And not only does she share the diary, she shares personal home videos. And you get to learn a little bit more about Pamela Anderson, the story of how she rose to fame, her rocky romances, and her sex tape that got released. Pamela Anderson grew up in a very small town located in Canada called Ladysmith, and a very small town at that. Less than 9,000 people live there, but it is a beautiful place from what I see. And now Pamela Anderson currently lives there with her mom and dad. And it is a beautiful house. She is right near the lake. Looks like she grows her own vegetables. There's a scene where she's giving her dogs carrots and they're munching away. So for the most part, she now looks like she lives a very different life than what she lived before. Before, it was very crazy, very hectic, up and down, turned upside down. But it was a fun time in her life. She was rising to the top. So we go back to where did it all start? Where did her fame start going up and up and up? So Pamela grew up on the islands of Ladysmith, but she knew she wanted to venture out. Her mother did not want her to leave. As a mother naturally does, they want to protect their children. So Pamela's mother would tell her stories, trying to scare her so that she wouldn't leave the islands. But eventually nothing would stop Pamela. She wanted something more. She wanted something bigger. So the moment when things started to change for Pamela, when she got invited to a Canadian football game, she wasn't really into it. She was just going because she got invited. Then she's wearing the team shirt and then she gets blasted on the TV screen. And from that moment, a beer company called Labatt asked Pamela Anderson to model for their beer. From a football game to getting blasted on TV and then getting a brewing company to say, hey, can you model for our beer? And then guess who reached out to Pamela Anderson? Playboy. Hugh Hefner and Playboy was interested in Pamela Anderson, and Pamela Anderson was very much interested to work with Playboy. Now, there was a challenge getting to the States because she was Canadian, so she didn't have citizenship. So when she gets to the airline, they say, oh, well, you cannot fly. And being the determined soul that she is, what does Pamela Anderson do? She goes to the bathroom, changes clothes, tries to look different, goes back in line, and the same person that says no catches her and says, nice try. But again, that did not stop Pamela Anderson. She takes the bus. Of course, the photo shoot does well. The photos get released. And while she is working for Playboy, she gets another opportunity. And for this opportunity, they actually had to reach out to Playboy first. And that was the famous show Baywatch. I knew of the show, but I never watched it myself. I was a little too young, but I was aware of the show. And you always hear about the girls running through the beaches in slow motion. That is most likely from Baywatch. Now, this show was a huge success, not just in the States. It became an international success. So Pamela Anderson was on the rise. Now, during this time of filming Baywatch, she was now dating Tommy Lee. Oh, it looks like my DoorDash order has arrived. Let me go ahead and get that right now because I don't want that stolen. Yo girl is going to eat right after this podcast. All right, I got my food. This is not sponsored by DoorDash. If you're wondering what I ordered, I got some Earl's sandwiches. And yes, I said sandwiches. One for right after the podcast and one for later. I usually like to get 2 different sandwiches and split it with my husband. I was sad to learn that they stopped making this sandwich that I would always get. It was their ham and pineapple. That one was so good. But I doubled up on this one, which is my other favorite, and that's the Chipotle chicken avocado. This was really good, so I got 2 of those. I meant to just get one of this. I'll check, but I got 2. Apparently, cheese and broccoli soup. So good with Tabasco. So how did Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson meet? They met in the year 1994. Pamela Anderson was part owner of this club called Sanctuary. It was New Year's and Tommy Lee ends up showing up and the rest was history. And if you're wondering what band Tommy Lee played in, because I wondered that as well, the band was called Motley Crue, formed in Hollywood, California in 1981. Motley Crue has sold over 100 million albums worldwide. That's the band that Tommy Lee was in. They meet in 1994, going into 1995, again, the year Selena died. If that comes up in a trivia, you guys should know that by now. What year did Selena die? 1995. It's a sad, sad fact to know, but since we know our Selena facts, we gotta know the good and the bad. So Pamela Anderson needs to go on this trip to Cancun, and Tommy Lee says, well, I'm gonna go too, and I'm gonna find you. And she's like, no, please do not come. And he's like, watch me. Pamela tells her crew and all of her security, hey, if you see a guy with tattoos all over, do not let him in. At this point, Tommy Lee is texting Pamela Anderson, hey, I'm here in Cancun. I'm with my friends. I'm in a hotel. I'm gonna go hotel to try to find you. And then she says, what could go wrong? Let me just let him know where I'm at. It was her last night there. And she says, okay, what is going to be wrong with hanging out with these guys for one night? And she says, that's her famous words. What could go wrong, right? They went to this club, a super techno club. Night got really crazy. They put ecstasy in their champagne. And she says the rest was all a big happy blur. And later on, he says, do you want to get married? And she's like, yeah, let's get married. So throughout the documentary, you see clips of their relationship. You see clips of their time in Cancun. You can tell that they really are into each other. They really are in love. Interesting enough, while Pamela Anderson was getting married to Tommy Lee in Cancun, she was dating somebody, Kelly Slater, and they were in a relationship. She was supposed to go see him in Florida, meet his family, and her call was to tell him, not only am I not doing that, but I got married. Now, Pamela Anderson says that they really didn't know each other when they got married, but it was the most beautiful love affair. The whole world was in shock when they landed from that trip. Paparazzi was all over them. And sadly, things start getting a turn for a worse for Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's relationship. When Pamela Anderson was on Baywatch, Tommy Lee would go on set and watch her do her scenes. And there was a time where Pamela Anderson did not fill in Tommy Lee beforehand that she was going to kiss somebody. And he sees this all unfold before his eyes. He sees his wife kiss another man. And although it is work, a little notice probably would have helped. So he gets really upset. He trashes the whole place where she gets ready to do her makeup to go on set. There was many red flags that she said that she would see, but she would choose to ignore. At this point of the relationship, they have 2 beautiful kids. But she says that she notices that Tommy Lee probably had postpartum. I wasn't aware that men can get postpartum. I only thought that women, moms get that. If you have friends and family out there who have just recently have a baby, it's a good reminder to not just only check in on the mom, but, to also check in on the dad as well. And in 1998, there was a night that Pamela Anderson said that his face went black, almost like when you see someone go in rage and all they see is red. And she was holding one baby in her arm and one other baby was grabbing her leg. And unfortunately, Tommy Lee gets arrested for spousal abuse and child abuse. Supposedly, he was kicking Pamela Anderson while she was holding their baby. So she had an injury to her right hand, a broken fingernail, and she had redness in the lower back area. Tommy Lee gets released on a $500,000 bail, and he is not allowed to contact Pamela Anderson. Tommy Lee goes after her on interviews saying that he never hit her, but the only thing that he says that he shook her. Come on now, come on. When you see a liar, you probably did a little more than that. So Tommy Lee says that the whole argument came from just him wanting love. He does say, I want my wife back. I want my wife back. And probably they just didn't know how to communicate with each other and use triggering words that pressed each other's buttons, and then it escalated, and then it turned physical, unfortunately. Now, a big thing that we haven't covered that was already happening around this time was the sex tape. Their sex tape was already released at this point. Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson had this safe the size of a refrigerator, and she says that damn safe, that big heavy safe, can you imagine how heavy this thing is? She says that thing was stolen. They had guns in there, they had important documents, they had tapes, things they didn't want out there in the world, and their sex tape was in the safe. And then they get a package in the mail, and it's a compilation of all of their home videos of them when they're naked, their sex scenes, and saying, we are going to release this, and we're going to offer you $5 million for this. Can you believe the violation? They must have felt the anger, the disbelief. The feeling that you couldn't do anything. Like the worst thing you could feel is being out of your control, and especially something like this, so personal. They said they declined the offer. They never have seen any money from this video. And it gets released. It gets released to the world. And can you just imagine the eyes now on them, the media press from now this release of the video? And this did not help Pamela Anderson's career with the sex tape, like Kim Kardashian or Paris Hilton, who got their sex tapes released, and this helped their careers. In this case, it did not help Pamela Anderson's career. She was going up and up with her career with Baywatch and Playboy, and now that this sex tape gets released, for Tommy Lee, of course, being a guy, he was getting praised. He was being seen in a different way, but for Pamela Anderson, she was being looked at very differently. Add all that pressure, the amount of stress that they were going through, 2 kids later. He says he was not used to being third place. He was always first place in Pamela Anderson's eyes, and now that wasn't the case. And so I think he was trying to tell her, I need your love. I need to feel like I'm your number one. It's always how you say things, not what you say. But when that physical altercation happened, Tommy Lee really wanted Pamela Anderson back. He wanted his family back together. He tried so hard. He would send letters, but Pamela Anderson said no. When you cross a line with somebody in any relationship, it's hard to go back. Although he tried to say sorry, although he did what he could to try to repair, the damage was done. And Tommy Lee did serve time for what he did to Pamela Anderson. He was sentenced to 6 months in jail for battering his wife. Wow, 6 months. So when that time was happening, when she was losing the love of her life, she did feel like a piece of herself was dying. She loved him so much. She loved Tommy Lee. But she loved her kids and she wanted to protect them, and she would do whatever it took. She said that she'd rather be alone than to live with that abuse again. She said it was a hard time when the kids were growing up because they really didn't see their dad a lot. It's also interesting that this is coming out because there was a Hulu series that came out covering the love story of Pam and Tommy. I think it's still out on Hulu. I'm kind of curious to see their take on it now after watching this documentary, but that was not approved by Pamela Anderson. They did not get her permission at all, which is very interesting. If you're going to make a documentary about somebody, if they're still alive, number one, wouldn't you think to get permission and also to reach out, maybe just to get some helpful insights, stories, interviews, just to better your role, the whole story? I don't understand the whole thing behind that, but that did not make Pamela Anderson really happy, especially the whole sex tape part, which was a really crucial time in her life. Pamela Anderson wanted to take the story in her hands, have it told by her and nobody else. So during the 18 years that they were not together, co-parenting was really challenging for them. She says that all the guys that she dated after did not like Tommy. She said it was a little jealousy that they had towards him. So it was really hard for Pamela and him to be friends during that time. And as we know, she did marry 6 times. So she did marry after Tommy Lee. She's really trying to find that love that she had with Tommy Lee, that passion love, that crazy love. And one of those marriages was with Kid Rock. Yes, Pamela Anderson was married to Kid Rock, and she married him in 2006. By this time, I was a 1-year newlywed. I guess you can say Pamela Anderson has a thing for the bad boys and the rockers. And that relationship did not last that long. It lasted only 4 months. And then Pamela Anderson takes another opportunity that is presented to her, and that is being a star on Broadway. That is something so hard to do. I mean, you are, yes, singing, but you are dancing and moving, and you need to go over here, and now you need to go over there. It's amazing. And now Pamela Anderson is having this opportunity in New York, and it goes great. She does an excellent performance. Man, if I would have known, I would have loved to see her on Broadway. If she does it again, I would love to see her. I haven't seen a Broadway show yet in New York, but I will. And now, guys, she is all over the media currently because she has this documentary. She does have a book as well, and the book is called Love, Pamela. So if you also want to learn a little bit more about Pamela, because we did not cover all of the details, go ahead and check out the book. I hope you learned a little bit more about Pamela. That saying, never judge a book by its cover. Give people a chance. Thank you so much for staying here until the end. We will be back next Monday. And like always, don't forget to kiss fear, goodbye. You can do it. We can do it. Bye, guys. See you guys next week.